Honey, are you sure that the ticket lady also didn't give us some good edibles along with these 3D glasses? Jesse Shade here for Awfully Good Movies on behalf of the JoBlo YouTube network. And last year, Robert Rodriguez's Spy Kids was added in its first year of eligibility to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, which is basically like the federal equivalent of the Criterion Closet. And some of you may scoff at the prospect of this cheap kiddie spy flick standing alongside the likes of Citizen Kane and 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I am here to tell you that Spy Kids is like Stanley Kubrick when compared to the first of two, so far, attempts by Robert Rodriguez to reboot the Spy Kids franchise for a new generation. And never have I missed Sylvester Stallone in a series of increasingly silly outfits than I have when I watched All the Time in the World in this sadly non-4D episode of Awfully Good Movies. Whenever the world or the movie theaters are in danger, Tom Cruise is there to run rapidly to their rescue. And now he's back for his 8th and supposedly final mission as death-defying secret agent Ethan Hunt to save the world from a rogue AI program in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And with Final Reckoning now one of the most expensive movies ever made, Tom Cruise sure has remained dedicated in turning an old 60s TV show into a spy franchise that's been running laps around James Bond for the past 30 years. Just as director Robert Rodriguez has been dedicated to a far cheaper spy franchise for a far younger audience that nearly met its end with a failed reboot from 2011, Spy Kids in 4D. All the Time in the World. With 3D movies back in popularity after the mega success of Avatar and Harvey Weinstein demanding one more movie from Robert Rodriguez under their Dimension Films contract, even after blaming him for the box office failure of Grindhouse, Robert would dust off the green screen for a new Spy Kids that would see Carmen and Junie Cortez handing off their high-tech gadgets to a new generation. With the primitive 3D technology from Spy Kids 3 now upgraded to 4D with the help of a scratch and sniff card that'd be given audiences alongside the 3D glasses to deploy during certain cues in the movie, and which, judging by the reviews of this movie from the time, worked just about as well as if the ticket handler had given you a card with the words "Go fuck yourself" written on it.
I don't smell shit except paper.
Well, number one, I smell cardboard. Number two, I smell cardboard.
I've got no fucking sense of smell.
Yet not even the added gimmick of Aromascope was enough to save the fourth Spy Kids from being quickly declassified at the box office and losing its security clearance from young and old viewers alike, in what would sadly be just the first of an underwhelming trio of sequels from Robert Rodriguez to come. And since I last reviewed a Spy Kids movie for this show 10 years ago to commemorate another Mission Impossible movie, I shall finally find out what it was about All the Time in the World that merits its placement among IMDb's bottom 100, well above Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Now imagine if you JoBlo viewers were able to see Spy Kids 4D in a 4DX theater, like Robert Rodriguez would have surely intended. That would be 8 combined dimensions of cinema that would transport audiences through space and time itself. If Tom Cruise really wants to preserve the theatrical experience, then he should try that idea out for his next movie.
I love my popcorn.
Time to head down to the Titty Twister for a round of tequila to play this top secret edition of the Awfully Good Drinking Game. Take a shot or drink every time you see Jeremy Piven in one of his many variants throughout this movie. First as one of our 2 time-based villains looking and acting like the loser brother of Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik, named TikTok.
Game, set, and match, TikTok.
Gee, how relevant to have a villain named TikTok that's wasting people's time and threatening the world's security. And trying to stop TikTok is OSS agent extraordinaire Marissa Cortez, the sister of Gregorio Cortez, played by frequent Rodriguez collaborator Jessica Alba, still chasing bad guys even as she is 9 months pregnant.
They say you can exercise up until the last day of pregnancy, so here we go.
And about to give birth to the baby of her new husband, TV journalist Wilbur Wilson, played by a Community-era Joel McHale, who's somehow still unaware that his wife's a super spy endangering the life of their yet unborn child.
I think my water just broke. I hope that was my water.
Congratulations!
At the behest of OSS leader Danger Diamo, played again by Jeremy Piven, who sure loves to dump a lot of 30s-era slang.
Aces. Without that, our goose is cooked. Those ankle biters will be fine.
At least that's less annoying than Piven's other role, requiring him to speak in a high-pitched voice and drop many a terrible time pun.
That'll stop your clock. No one ever notices time. Better luck next time.
What ice puns were to Batman and Robin, time puns will unfortunately be to Spy Kids 4D. Speaking of our titular Spy Kids, that honor now belongs to Marissa's mischievous stepkids, Rebecca and Cecil, played by Rowan Blanchard and Mason Cook, who 1 year after their baby sister's birth remain suspicious of their new stepmother.
You don't think she's really an interior decorator?
Well, look at this place.
As they set traps around the house to mess with their parents that literally feel ripped off from Hulk Hogan's Mr. Nanny.
I hooked up his nose hair clipper to a power saw. Or the baby powder in the hairdryer trick.
I mean it!
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Hulk Hogan had better comedic timing with this material than Jessica Alba. But Marissa's retirement from the spy game comes to an end when the news breaks that all time in the world is speeding up progressively faster, thanks to a time travel device codenamed Project Armageddon that's hijacked by the escaped TikTok and his masked overlord, the Timekeeper.
Time and my temper are short.
Who at least looks less stupid as if he had dressed like Father Time, and who wants to make the people of the world pay for wasting their time on meaningless tasks instead of with their loved ones. Unless he is given the Chrono Sapphire that the OSS discovered in a fallen meteor,
The only element that can stop the Armageddon device.
and which Marissa keeps as a necklace around her neck that she accidentally gave as a gift to her stepdaughter.
That necklace from last night, maybe I can have it back?
You can have it. I never wanted your stupid necklace anyway.
Okay, Jessica Alba may be the dummy here for giving this potentially world-destroying sapphire to a little kid, but there's no need for this girl to get this defensive over a necklace she has had for 4 hours. You kids don't get to talk to your parents this way, just because they look like they shrunk Zendaya and Tom Holland. Rebecca angrily pranks her stepmom by stealing the necklace back and replacing it in the case with some of the baby's food. But soon these kids find themselves cornered at home by some of the Timekeeper's henchmen he enlisted from a Devo tribute band, and whisk themselves away with their pet dog Argonaut to a panic room where Marissa finally informs them that not only has she been a spy for the OSS, but their dog is a robot with the voice of an overexposed British comedian.
This is not a prank.
No, thankfully not Russell Brand or James Corden, but rather Ricky Gervais, as the worst animated and acted on-screen animal I've seen in a movie since Eric Roberts as a talking cat.
And sit.
Do you get it? It's what humans usually say to dogs.
Seriously, Ricky's dialogue as this wisecracking robo-mutt has all the energy of Krusty the Clown recording phrases for his talking doll. He alternates between cringingly awkward improv that doesn't know when to stop.
You're fighting like cats and dogs, which I can understand why cats and dogs fight. Cats are awful.
And the cheapest of pop culture references.
Smash!
Oh, someone put that on YouTube!
Along with a set of powers that I've seen done far funnier with the dog from Little Nicky, thank you very much.
That dog's got smoke balls!
This performance will make you hate Ricky Gervais so much that you'll wish The Office had never gotten big in the first place. So after the kids flee in escape pods from the pursuing henchmen, they land at OSS headquarters to be greeted by a most familiar face.
Welcome to the OSS.
Holy shit, it's Mara Wilson, Alexa Vega, as the now adult Carmen Cortez. Here to treat these kids to a tour through the Department of Member Berries from past movies, now that budget cuts have led to the end of the Spy Kids program.
Who's that?
Me and my brother Junie.
Where is he?
We shall not speak of him.
Well, I can see someone is not a fan of his marriage to Meghan Trainor. She is not about that bass. But reminding us about the past 3 movies makes us realize how much worse this 4th one is by comparison. Because while that brother and sister energy was very much there between the Cortez children, these new kids just feel like 2 actors who had just met each other off set and are reading lines in a cereal commercial.
Awesome!
Which I must emphasize is not the fault of the kids themselves, as they've grown up to have perfectly decent careers. And Cecil having a set of earphones to augment his partially deaf hearing is a nice bit of disability representation.
I turned off my hearing aids.
The problem is Robert Rodriguez giving them subpar material we've seen him do better, and surrounding his actors with effects that have not greatly improved in the 8 years between movies.
Something stinks around here. I always knew you were a butthead.
No, you dumb kid. Butthead was in the last movie.
Whoa.
Because what would any Spy Kids sequel be without all those tiresome jokes centering exclusively around poops and farts?
That smells like lentils and desperation.
Wait for it.
Oh, what was that supposed to do?
It just makes me laugh.
Well, I am not going to even bother to think about what that part of the scratch and sniff card might have smelled like. We do not need to know what Ricky Gervais's farts smell like. We already have his social media feed. Rodriguez got this idea for a 4th Spy Kids from watching Jessica Alba tending to her 1-year-old on the set of Machete. And motherhood most certainly looks good on her here in a tight costume straight out of her Dark Angel days. But with Antonio Banderas' cameo for this flick inexplicably deleted from the final cut, it's hard to be invested in her as a member of the Cortez family, whom we've never seen in this franchise before. And Joel McHale's comedic talents are even more wasted as her clueless cuck of a husband, who's coincidentally doing a TV show that has him hunting down spies.
I'm Wilbur Wilson, spy hunter.
That'll hopefully last longer than his Netflix show did. Using a PKE meter from Ghostbusters that can literally track down spies with a big green arrow on the screen.
Turn left now. Right foot, left foot, big right foot.
Spy hunter.
Which leads him and his cameraman right to the timekeeper's lair that's disguised as, what else, a clock repair shop. And records a big fight in this lair with the timekeeper's henchmen, not knowing that his wife and kids are part of the fight, alongside Carmen dropping bad guys more often than she does references to the first movie.
Oh shit, Taki mushrooms.
Boy, is Wilbur Wilson in for a surprise to find out that his wife and kids are spies.
You're a spy.
I'm so sorry. What about us?
Just need time.
And this has been a particularly sad installment of Chicks, man. So with the world's time continuing to speed towards apocalypse, what better time for the OSS to finally bring the other half of the former Spy Kids out of retirement?
Agent Cortez has even come out of retirement to help us.
Holy shit, it's Kieran Culkin, Daryl Sabara, as Judy Cortez.
Yeah.
Okay, easy on the fist pumping back there, background extra. Now we know where Jason Momoa learned to do that for Justice League. It is admittedly nice to see these two back together, but like the worst Legacy sequels, they're just there to whittle away time until we hand things over to the far less compelling Spy Kids, as they figure out the big twist about the OSS's director that everyone except this movie's youngest audiences has figured out already, that Danger Diamo is actually an anagram for George Costanza, Armageddon, and that he was the timekeeper all along.
I guess I'm not
who you thought I was.
What a shock this is. Are you going to tell me that Jeremy Piven's hair is fake too? He explains to Marissa and the Cortez kids that he has planted a chip in the badge of every OSS agent that'll freeze them all in time. Yes, even beloved Uncle Machete, in a frustratingly brief reappearance from the great Danny Trejo. Come on, Rodriguez, you couldn't have given him one line. Also, if Jessica Alba played Machete's love interest in the Machete movies, but also his sister in the Spy Kids movies, does that mean that Machete banged his sister? Machete bangs his sister.
He gets the women.
Thankfully, Junie is unfrozen after he had his badge thrown out earlier in the movie, and must call upon Rebecca and Cecil to finally enlist them in the Spy Kids program.
Spy Kids have always been able to beat the bad guys because adults overthink things.
Spy Kids. Spy Dog. Spy Baby.
For the love of God, kid, don't give Robert Rodriguez any ideas for spin-offs. I'm certainly not going to be the first in line to go see Lunchetti.
Rated X.
But wait a minute, what about this mysterious reason that Junie retired from the OSS in the first place?
Where have you been all these years?
I tried to strike out on my own, and I struck out.
Okay, so it was just the exact same reason he had retired at the start of Spy Kids 3D? Which, in spite of its many flaws, still had the heart and the celebration of Mexican culture and family that made those first two Spy Kids special. And of course, the late great Ricardo Montalban in a mech suit. But Spy Kids 4 does nothing to invest me in these newer kids, no matter how many stupid 3D effects they throw up on the screen that look more like the logo animations they should have shown at the beginning of the movie, or how many more twists they can throw into the film's third act about why exactly Danger Diamo wants this time-traveling device.
The Armageddon device was meant to travel back in time.
Because this Wells experiment was conducted back in 1936 by Diamo's scientist father, also played by Piven, and this boy frozen in time that the kids keep seeing in this archive footage was actually Danger Diamo himself, having accidentally gotten frozen in time by his father during a lab mishap, and having to watch his father work himself to death the next few decades to find a way to unfreeze him, until they discover the Chrono Sapphire that's able to snap young Danger back into present day after 50 years of watching his friends and family dying around him.
Everything and everyone I cared about was no more.
Damn, I must admit, that is some dark shit. Right up there with Buscemi's line of dialogue from Spy Kids 2. But before Diamo can finally open up a time vortex to head back and spend time with his dead dad, Cecil realizes in a twist that I swear was ripped off for the Flash movie, that Diamo has actually attempted this several times already, and that TikTok is one of many of his previous variants. As are his hundreds of henchmen. Now he's become Jeremy's Piven. Marissa arrives with the Cortezes just in time to hear her stepdaughter, who's been insistent this whole movie that she's her stepkid, that she now considers herself more than just her kid.
Keep away from my stepkids.
Make that your kids. Make that your Spy Kids.
Make that your Spy Kids in 4D all the time in the world? What does that make us, some kind of the Suicide Squad?
I have to go now.
The time vortex finally opens, and Diamo steps through the pink butthole so he can finally hug it out, bitch, with his dad, and make up for all the years of lost time. After which the kids briefly wait to find Jeremy Piven hopping back in time in the middle of his one-man show as Gene Hackman to tell how spending those lost 50 years really didn't change anything.
My father still died, no matter what I tried to do to save him.
But at least we both got to have ourselves a four-way with Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, so totally worth it. I lived a good life. He turns off the Doomsday device, time is unfrozen for good, and both our Spy Mom and Spy Kids can now live happily at—
You think you stopped me?
Oh, for fuck's sake, dude, the movie's almost over. How about you get in here, Joel McHale, and send this bastard off to serve some hard time at a community college in Colorado. At least he'll be easier to work with than Chevy Chase.
I'm not gonna wait until I have enough time for us to spend together.
Time, get it?
And with Junie and Carmen announcing they'll be heading up the new Spy Kids program, they'll have not just 2, but 3 members of the Wilson family enlisted as new recruits. You know what? I take that back. Never mind. If we're dealing with another Son of the Mask CGI nightmare baby on our hands, then how about we enlist some of the kids from the audience instead? No, seriously, there's an ending stinger that has Rebecca and Cecil looking over what's supposed to be surveillance footage from the very theater you're watching this movie in, even though the actual theaters for Spy Kids 4D were nowhere near this full, and enlisting everybody in the audience, including you, the viewer, as a Spy Kid themselves.
I now declare you all Spy Kids.
So all those Reddit conspiracy theories were right. Hollywood really has been trying to use movies to induct children into their secret sex cults. Harvey Weinstein, you sick bastard. I hope you rot the rest of your life in prison with your little pal Salacious Crumb. Or as he used to be known on the outside, P. Diddy.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
But even after Robert Rodriguez's contract with the Weinsteins was done, and he moved on to collaborating with James Cameron on the underappreciated adaptation of Alita: Battle Angel, Robert Rodriguez was nowhere near done with the Spy Kids franchise, as a 2018 Netflix cartoon series would soon give way to a 5th movie in 2023 for Netflix, Spy Kids Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Starring Gina Rodriguez and Zachary Levi, oh, poor dumb Zachary Levi, as a new secret agent couple who must induct their kids into the OSS, but with not a single cameo from the rest of the Cortez family, not even Machete. Although Rodriguez does plan to bring them back for future sequels, with Alexa Vega even agreeing that Spy Kids 4 was, quote, kind of a miss. Still, you cannot deny the huge impact Robert Rodriguez continues to have on Hollywood today. Every time we watch another green-screened Marvel or DC movie, or even Ryan Coogler's recent mega-hit vampire flick, Sinners, that was hugely influenced by From Dusk Till Dawn. However, the only thing Spy Kids 4D will inspire viewers to do is quickly turn it off, feeling very much like a slapdash effort that Robert Rodriguez only made to stop Harvey Weinstein from having his body buried out in the desert. The older Spy Kids barely play a part in it. The newer Spy Kids are unlikable as hell. None of the other cast shows up, and these cheap effects have never looked cheaper. Much kudos and respect to Robert Rodriguez for still being a kid at heart, even as his own kids are now old enough to help their old man behind the camera, but all the time in the world only proves that Game Over should have been for the Spy Kids franchise back in, well, Game Over. Game Over! And how dare this movie subtitle itself after the theme song to one of the best James Bond movies. The only Bond movie this crap gets to reference is Die Another Day, where the effects looked about as good as that of a Spy Kids movie. On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Bull to Bruce, Spy Kids in 4D all the time in the world is a somehow worse Robert Rodriguez sequel than From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money, could ever hope to be, and floops its fooglies into a 3 out of 10. At least John Waters can sleep contently knowing he made the way better Scratch and Sniff movie. I'm Jesse Shade for the JoBlo YouTube network, and thanks again for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the JoBlo Awfully Good Movies channel. Tell all your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all our latest videos. We are an independent company that appreciates all of your support. And I just realized that this new Spy Kids movie comes from the same production company as the Mission Impossible movies. So I'm smelling crossover!
It's a cool, cool world, all you little boys and girls, and some mean, nasty people want to have you for their supper. But if you follow me, you can all be free, free, you can all be free.
But we must not lose hope. Who are we kidding? It's over! We're toast!
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.